September the 6th, the Great Autumn Migration. One of the great spectacles of September, although it goes unnoticed by most Londoners, is the Great Autumn Migration. One reason for this is that compared with the spring migration, the birds tend to be far less vocal and more secretive on their return journeys. Also, in September, many travel in small groups, or perhaps even alone. Although most of our summer visitors will choose to leave this month, many will do so at night. Chiffchaffs, which have been calling so persistently for months, may well form a flock and leave silently. We may also notice that the reed and sedge warblers that were so noisy are suddenly silent and then missing. In the early morning on mudflats, rare waders may be seen that were certainly not there yesterday. For these reasons, it is necessary to visit the favourite stopping-off points of various migrants several times during the month, and preferably in the early morning. Being aware of the weather forecasts, both here and abroad, may also help to predict what might be arriving or leaving, and where the birds may be coming from or going to. Wind direction and the weather in other parts of Europe can radically affect what birds end up visiting us. Migrants, both common and rare, choose to stop off or take their migration route across London for a number of reasons. It may be that they want to take advantage of good feeding areas, so they build up some weight for their ordeal ahead. Or the birds may stop to form larger flocks and then wait for better weather conditions before continuing their journey. Migration in the autumn is usually taken far more leisurely than in the spring. The reason we might not notice some of the birds is that many may well be moving at night, as well as travelling at high altitudes. Any unusual birds heard calling in the dead of night may be due to parties of redshank, meadow pipits, or even skylarks passing over the city. Fortunately, we are able to see and enjoy the spectacle of this vast passage of birds in a number of ways. An obvious and favourite one is watching swallows and martins collecting on telegraph wires, chattering excitedly prior to the next leg of their journey. Hobbies are often drawn to such congregations looking for food and add to the excitement. Another is seeing a great rarity suddenly turn up. In London, we are unlikely to see flocks descending from great heights in the early morning, or other groups of birds flying together towards land from the open sea. We can, however, get a great feeling for what is happening around us. When swallows are sometimes confronted by a headwind, but still decide to move south, in such situations they often decide to fly much lower than usual, perhaps just above head height. A Londoner sat in a park or garden may then witness the slow, steady wing beats so typical of migrants, as numerous swallows fly past one after another in exactly the same direction, possibly for several hours. To see other spectacles, you really need to be in the right place at the right time. So, visiting favoured nesting areas such as reservoirs, marshes, and mudflats is likely to increase your chances. Oddly, it is the best time of year to visit Billington Sewage Works, which is so popular with migrants. It may well give some clue as to what sort of habitat migrants chose before London was ever inhabited. The scale of migration continues to gain momentum throughout the month, and possibly thousands of birds are now moving through London and millions across the whole country. We may have had as many as 50 different summer visitors, most of which are now moving south, bound for southern Europe or Africa. By the end of the month, there will be very few still with us. Large visible waves of migrants tend to be more of a spectacle associated with October. If the weather has been unseasonably harsh further north in Britain or in Scandinavia, we may even see our first winter visitors. For example, fieldfares, redwings, bramblings, or perhaps even snow bunting. A strong east wind may bring in redshanks or siskins. Perversely, against all the usual rules, some herons may decide to fly north. There are also many local movements or partial migrations. Resident birds which may have chosen to raise a family in a remote safe habitat, such as high moorland or upland pasture, now decide to relocate to an area where there will be richer food supplies for the months ahead. Coastal marshes along the Thames are always popular, and here lapwing, redshank, snipe and golden plover may be seen. After leaving the nest, juveniles tend to wander at first, eventually teaming up with other birds of the same species, and then finding themselves on a migration route. Birds to look out for include chiffchaff willow warbler, white-throat spotted flycatcher, windchat, wheat-ear tree pipit, and perhaps even with immense luck a turtle dove. With so many different migrants crisscrossing the city, it is well worth examining any group of birds for rarities that may be in their midst. Among any flocks of meadow pipits, it's always worth checking for any rock, water, or even a red-throated pipit. A lot of birds seen are likely to be just the advance guard of a much greater wave that will be coming later. For this reason, it is usually just small numbers which are recorded now in places such as Barnes, Wetland Centre, and various places along the estuary, such as Crossness, Barking, Rainham and Tilbury.